Good morning, everybody. Anthony here, Bibles and Barbells Ministry. I'm going to continue in this video today. I want to go over a brief outline of three chapters in the book of Jeremiah. I know several of my videos over the last couple of weeks have been focusing on this book because I'm reading through it. And so in chapters 40 through 43, which we're going to briefly talk about today, and then I'm going to try to apply some of what is written here in the Word to what is going on in America today and what we're experiencing. And so in chapter 40, we have Judah and Jerusalem that were invaded and taken over in the siege and all that by Nebuchadnezzar from Babylon. And so there are people that were left, there were certain survivors, people that hid in certain places and were not taken captive. And so the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, kept some people back there, and he allowed a certain amount of people to stay in the land in Judah. And so in chapter 40, there's a guy by the name of Gedaliah that was appointed by Nebuchadnezzar himself to be kind of like the governor of the area. Jeremiah at this time settles, or his home, I guess, is in Mizpah, which is, I think, about 12 miles northeast of Jerusalem. And so in verse 12 of chapter 40, it says, "Even all the Jews returned out of all places whither they were driven, and came to the land of Judah to Gedaliah unto Mizpah, and gathered wine and summer fruits very much in abundance." So they were kind of getting their lives back in order again. This guy by the name of Johanan tells Gedaliah, there's a plot to kill you. These people are trying to kill you. And in in 41 and 42 chapters, Johanan's warning is fulfilled. This guy by the name of Ishmael assassinates Gedaliah, kills several Judean officials and Babylonian guards that were with him, and he also kills, I think it's like 70 worshipers, and throws all their bodies in a cistern or in a pit, like a pit. And so Johanan's soldiers rescue and defeat Ishmael and free the captives. So it frees the captives that he had taken. And so that's the rescue. The request, Johanan asks Jeremiah, here's where the prophet comes into play. Pray for me, Jeremiah, or for us, concerning what God's will is, what Yahuwah's will is, and where we should go as a people, what we should do. Pray for us. So, okay, there's two things that come out of this reply that Jeremiah invokes or does in chapter 42. After 10 days, it says Jeremiah announces God's twofold will in this manner. So Jeremiah is now communicating what Yahuwah, God, spoke to him and what his will was for this remnant, for this people. Remain in Judah and live. You could see that in chapter 42, verse 7 through 12. They are not to fear the king of Babylon any longer. So the word Jeremiah gets is, don't fear the king of Babylon any longer. Get on with your lives. Farm the land, live in the land, do what we need to do. Stay in Judah. Stay in the land. Number 2, retire to Egypt and die. If you go to Egypt, where life will be more easy, I guess, or you'll be able to assimilate better and whatever, you go there, the prophet Jeremiah says, you die. And so then it picks up in chapter 43, which I went through today, and you have, in spite of Jeremiah's previous warning not to go to Egypt, the people journey there, forcing Jeremiah to go with them. So in verse 1 through 7 of 43, when you're reading it, you'll see that took place. What did they do? They did not, the remnant did not listen. They did not obey. They were not obedient. Okay, let that word obedience stick in your mind. God tells Jeremiah now, who's in Egypt with them, bring some large rocks to the entrance of Pharaoh's palace to signify that someday Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, you know, the one that just overthrew you guys in Judah and Jerusalem, yeah, that same king is coming to Egypt to place his throne on that very spot where you guys are now, where the Pharaoh has his spot. So the rocks Jeremiah was told to bury are there. And so I see in these chapters in Jeremiah, we could see that even after all that transpired and all the people went through in Judah with Nebuchadnezzar's army laying siege and all this other things that led up to the captivity, the people are still not humbled. They still don't get it. And they're turning, they turned to Jeremiah, but when he gave them something they didn't want to hear, they didn't listen to it. They didn't pay attention because they were, and it says in chapter 43, verse 2, they were proud. They were proud. And that word is H2086. It's Zaid, pronounced Zaid. It's arrogant, insolent, presumptuous. Think of swelling up, like swelling up with pride, inflating yourself. They were too proud to humble themselves and listen and be obedient to the word. How does that apply to us today? Well, I think most people today in this country are proud. Yeah, they're proud of nationalistic things and they have this patriotism and all that. They're proud, they're swelled up, they're arrogant. They don't want to listen to the true word of Yahuwah, of God, Scripture, and be obedient. They'd rather do things themselves or do things that they think is right for them or what's going to make us feel better or do better. And then there's a word and I'll close with this. At the end of chapter 43 in verse 13, it says this: He shall break also the images of Beth Shemesh that is in the land of Egypt, and the houses of the gods of the Egyptians shall he burn with fire. So what that's saying there, that word image in verse 13 is H4676. It's Matz Sebah. Matz Sebah is how you say it in the Hebrew. And it's a pillar, a monument of some type, an obelisk. Think of the Washington Monument, that obelisk. That's however you want to view it, it's a satanic symbol. There's another one in the Vatican in St. Peter's Basilica, and ours is a carbon copy of it. So that pillar, or those idols, if you will, those things of worship, those memorials, a column of stone or something set upright. And here, again, in modern Washington, D.C., we see that in the Vatican and in other places around the world. What we see in America happening the last several years is they're tearing statues down that people don't agree with or it makes them uncomfortable. And these statues have been up for hundreds of years, not bothering anybody. All of a sudden, we have to tear them down. Or a statue or a replica of the Ten Commandments. That can't stand. We have to tear that out of the courthouse. That's got to come down. But recently, in the last couple of days, in the United States, number one, in Texas, and you could go, if you go to Hindustan Times, HindusTanTimes.com, you'll see in Texas, in Houston, on August 18th, 2024, a grand pran pratishta ceremony was held to erect a 90-foot tall Hanuman statue. This is 90 foot tall. It's the third largest statue in our country right now. It was named the Statue of Union, and it commemorates Lord Hanuman's role in rewriting Sri Rama's and Sita, built at the Sri Ashtakazmi Temple in Sugar Land, Texas. It's the visionary behind it. The project is His Holiness Sri Chanuaya Swajami. So this statue is it's 90 feet tall. President Obama just spoke. I heard him speak. He keeps a little version of it in his pocket that somebody gave him years ago as like a good luck charm, an image, an idol, something to rely on other than the Most High. That's what this is symbolizing. We're tearing our statues down, but erecting these Hanuman statues, 90 feet tall, that have no connection to our history here in the United States, our founding or whatever. Nothing to do with it, and that's fine. That could stay up, but a Confederate general that of history that actually took place has to be torn down because it makes people uncomfortable. And then secondly, if you do a search of this monkey statue in New Orleans that just went up, you'll be appalled when you see it. It's made of metal. It's a monkey with a horns on his head, like demonic horns on his head. The all-seeing eye, that all-seeing eye, that third eye, on the chest area here. If you look on the back of a dollar bill, you'll see the all-seeing eye. It's on our money. It's a satanic Freemason symbol, Illuminati type symbol. And also this monkey is covered in what look like monkey pox. There's all monkey pox all over his body. And it's probably about 7 or 8 feet tall. And then there's a metal between his legs, what looks like a penis. And so that statue's fine. That's art or reflecting something. So getting back to our passages in Jeremiah, after all the sickness and disease and famine and sword and pestilence that these people went through in Judah and Jerusalem, being conquered and overthrown, they still didn't listen. They still went to Egypt. They still worshiped their gods and abandoned the God that was telling them, stay in Judah, don't fear, I'm going to take care of you. They abandoned it and they worshiped other gods. And that's our case today. That's our predicament today in this country. We like to hear things or fancy speeches or sermons, but in the end, we do things our way. We're proud, arrogant, and we worship things that are not biblical. And we cannot have a Christian nation with that type of thing, with these type of things going on. And that's where we are in my comparisons in the book of Jeremiah to what we are in modern America today. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, people. We have to humble ourselves, get rid of our proud arrogance, and start listening to the voice of the Most High through his Son, his Bane, Jesus, Yahushua. And we need to, what? Work, do, action. Do what the Word says. Only then will we be turned around or saved or see true change in this country. Because that's what we say we are, a Christian nation, correct? Well, if we are, we got to walk the walk. If not, then just say we're not. And abandon the Word and do your own thing like they did here in this chapter. And they're going to suffer for it. And we are suffering for it today. With what? Sword, famine, pestilence. 3 things taking place in this country, which it's August 27th right now. Soon as September hits, you're going to see a picking up of the pace, let's put it, of what I just spoke about. Sword, famine, pestilence. You're going to see a fast picking up of that pace. That's my prediction. So that's going back to Jeremiah. Take some time, read through the chapters yourself and see for yourself, and then pray and ask for direction, guidance, wisdom, protection, and the ability and the strength to rid ourselves of demonic things that we are worshiping or embracing, and demonic activities, and worshiping people, presidents, who are not going to save us. They're 2 wings of the same bird. It's all misdirection. It's all stuff to keep you frozen from doing anything. Oh, they're going to help. They're going to save us. If they just get in office, we're fine. We can go back and worship the 90-foot statue as soon as so-and-so is in office. No, that's not how it works. You have to listen and be obedient to the word. We have to rid ourselves of idols, physical idols that we're worshiping, idols in our hearts, idols that we worship, like politicians and movie stars and scientists and Bill Gates and all these other people. And we need to rely on the Most High. Number one. That needs to be our direction. And I'll end the video there this morning. I know I went on a little bit. A lot of this stuff's, it's out in our face now. These monkey statues, or whatever they call them, these demonic entities, are going up all around the country all of a sudden, and nobody's saying anything. All kinds of things are happening in our neighborhoods and in our towns with people that have come here and are not assimilating. They're not enriching. It's not cultural enrichment. It's the opposite effect. And you see that in England and France and Portugal and Ireland in particular. Ireland's overthrown already. They just haven't told the people yet. Why? Because this order is taking place, this new world order, this one world government, this beast system. That's what's taking place before our eyes. And the only way we're going to get out of it or delay it or stop it or, stop it in its tracks is getting back to the root of our beliefs, the true word of the Most High, and do what Messiah taught, not all the stuff we follow today. So again, I'll close this today. Thanks for watching. Anthony signing off. Isaiah 40:29 and John 15:5. God bless.